Hey guys, happy Monday. So I've been rereading a book by Glennon Doyle. It's called Untamed, and it is the most beautiful piece of work. I mean, I could see myself writing something like this. Not that I would be anywhere near her level of, she's great, but it's basically the story about how she lived like this cookie cutter lifestyle. And she did everything she was supposed to do. And she married, had 3 children, had a great career. But inside, there was something really big missing. And she didn't know what it was, but she knew that there was something big missing. And it's not just that there was something big missing, but she knew that there was a fire burning inside of her for something more. And not to say that getting married and having children and having a great, I mean, that's for a lot of people, that does make them incredibly happy. And there's nothing wrong. We all have our own paths. We all choose our own things, that makes us happy or doesn't make us happy. But she was trying to fit into something that wasn't truly her, or I guess I should say, might have been true for her, 15, 16 years in the past, but then it became not true for her and what was best for her involvement later down the road. And so she tells the story about how she was unhappy in her marriage, very, very unhappy in her marriage. And she's a great mom. So there's nothing with the motherhood thing, but just that, and also her career was great, but that it was mostly that she knew that there was something, she knew that she needed to be, so Untamed, the point of the book is that she starts off with like this tiger who's like unleashed from the cage, and how everybody's like clapping because he gets the little, the little white bunny, pink, but whatever color bunny it was, and it chases the bunny and it kills it. And so it's basically living its most wild, most natural state. And so Glennon is sitting there. And this is how I would feel too. This is exactly how I would have reacted to this scenario. She says how when she saw that, everybody was clapping because I was like, yay, the tiger, it's just entertainment for most people. Like they were like clapping and, it's like a big thing for them. But she was sitting there, she wasn't clapping. And she was like, are you effing kidding me? Like, I mean, she could feel, she knew that tiger wasn't free. And it was a reflection of how she didn't feel free. And she was chasing little bunnies around instead of being her most wild, most authentic. And by wild, I don't mean, and I definitely don't think she means wild as like in a dirty sense or anything like that. She's just saying being free with who you really are, chasing after the things that really light you up. And so it was really a beautiful analogy that she used at the beginning of the book. And so there's a chapter that's really, there's a couple of chapters that are my favorite. So I wanted to share the first chapter, if I can find it. Feel. It's Feel. And if you guys pick up a copy of this book, it is so good. I mean, one of my good friends sent me a copy, which was really sweet because she knew that I would like the book. And I have really just dived back into this book and I love it so much and it's so inspiring. So if you can bear with me, I know that it's kind of a long chapter, but if you have the time, it's worth it because it's really speaks to the heart of those who may not be in alignment with who they really want to be, who are wanting to step out of some areas of their life that they're not completely happy with. And I think that would speak to a lot of us. I mean, there are a lot of us who are, and we're all constantly transitioning to a different level of our lives. And there's nothing wrong or right about that. You just have to flow with the process and trust that God knows what he's doing, you know? And by God, I also mean your internal guidance system, which is always telling you where to go and what to do. So this is one of my favorite chapters. Oh, well, okay. So tomorrow I'm going to talk about feel. That's a chapter that's really powerful. But today I want to talk about knowing, the knowing inside of you. So she writes, and it's going to be kind of long, so bear with me. Key 2, be still and know. Several years ago, very early one morning, I found myself unable to sleep again. It was 3 a.m. I was wild-eyed, shaky, flailing, grasping for answers, like a drowning woman desperate for air. I had just typed these words into my Google search window. What should I do if my husband is a cheater but also an amazing dad? I stared at that question and thought, well, I have hit some sort of new rock bottom. I've just asked the internet to make the most important and personal decision of my life. Why do I trust everyone else on earth more than I trust myself? Where the hell is myself? When did I lose touch with her? I clicked on article after article anyway. Distressingly, everyone thought I should do something different. The religious experts insisted that a good Christian would stay. Feminists argued that a strong woman would leave. Parenting articles preached that a good mother thinks only of what is best for her children. All of those differing opinions meant that I quite literally could not please everyone. And that was a relief. When a woman finally learns that pleasing the world is impossible, she becomes free to learn how to please herself. I looked at all of those contradictory opinions and thought, if there is in fact an objective right or wrong way to handle this, why do all these people have such different ideas about what a person should do? I had an epiphany. It must be that should and shouldn't, right and wrong, good and bad, they're not wild. Or a term that I would use is natural, you know. They're not real. They're just culturally constructed, artificial, ever-changing cages created to maintain institutions. It struck me that in every family culture or religion idea of right and wrong are the hot cattle prods, the barking sheepdogs that keep the masses in the herd. They are the bars that keep us caged. I decided that if I kept doing the right thing, I would spend my life following someone else's directions instead of my own. I didn't want to live my life without living my life. I wanted to make my own decision as a free woman from my soul, not from my training. But the problem was I didn't know how. And she goes on to talk about how she talked about to a friend about what was going on in her heart. I'd read that verse many times before. I'm just going to keep reading. But it struck me freshly this time. It didn't say poll your friends and know, or read books by experts and know, or scour the internet and know. It suggested a different approach to knowing. Just stop. Stop moving, stop talking, stop searching, stop panicking, stop flailing. If you just stop doing, you'll start knowing. This seemed like magical nonsense, but desperate women take desperate measures. I decided to experiment. After the kids left for school, I shut myself in my closet. This cracks me up. I shut myself in my closet, sat down on a towel, closed my eyes, and did nothing but breathe. At first, each 10-minute session felt 10 hours long. I checked my phone every few moments, planned my grocery list, and mentally redecorated my living room. I could totally relate to that. The only things I seemed to know on that floor were that I was hungry and itchy and suddenly desperate to fold laundry and reorganize my pantry. I was an input junkie thrown into detox. I was tempted to quit every second, but I was stern with myself. 10 minutes a day is not too long to spend finding yourself, Glennon. For God's sake, you spend 80 minutes a day finding your keys. Her and I are so much alike. Okay, I'm going to skip through. Every day I returned to the closet, sat down on the floor, littered with t-shirts and jeans, and I practiced sinking into myself. The knowing would meet me in the deep and nudge me towards the next right thing, one thing at a time. That was how I began to know what to do next. That was how I began to walk through my life more clearly, solid and steady. I now take orders only from my own knowing. I'm skipping through here. I'm not reading the whole entire chapter because it's just so long. But I'm taking away the key points. I now take orders only from my own knowing. So she's stepping into her sovereignty here. Whether I'm presented with a work, personal, or family decision, a monumental or tiny decision, whenever uncertainty arises, I sink and I sink beneath the swirling surf of words, fear, expectations, conditioning, and advice. And that's not easy to do, but the more you practice, the better it gets. And feel for the knowing. I sink 100 times a day. She's such an amazing person. I have to, because the knowing never reveals a 5-year plan. It feels to me like a loving, playful guide. Like the reason it will only reveal the next right thing is that it wants me to come back again and again because it wants to do life together. After many years, I'm developing a relationship with this knowing. We are learning to trust each other. No matter how lost I get, I know exactly where and how to find myself again. And I think I'll just leave it there because, okay, and I'm going to read the end of the chapter. How to know. How to connect with yourself and know what it's right for you. Moment of uncertainty arises, or whatever, anxiety, whatever uncertainty feels like in your body. Breathe, turn inward, and sink. Sink into that knowing. Sink into yourself. Feel around for the knowing. Do the next best thing it nudges you toward. Let it stand. Don't explain. And that's a thing. You don't have to explain to anybody. This is your life. It's not anybody else's. It doesn't matter if nobody else understands what's going on in your life or how you feel or what direction you're being pulled towards. It's nobody else's business to understand. Even though they love you and they're a part of your life, you are the only one that knows what's right for you. And then she goes on to say, let it stand, don't explain, and then repeat forever. And stillness is a big part of that, you know, like when she goes into the closet, when she talks about that going into the closet thing. That was her way of being able to step into her stillness, step into her knowing, to let all this distractions fade away, because apparently her house and you know, the grocery list and all that stuff, those were all triggers for her. So if she stepped into the closet, that's how she could, but we've all got our ways of doing that. For me, it's just my own bedroom. And just the meditation practice that I try to do every day. I'm not good about doing it every single day, but I do a lot of prayer and stuff like that. But just getting quiet, you know, and a lot of times I'll wake up in the middle of the night and I'll really, feel that need to pray. And I'll also feel a real love and closeness with myself. That's really precious actually, because sometimes I wake up with a lot of anxiety, because I do have anxiety from time to time, but mostly when I wake up in the middle of the night, it's a real closeness with myself. And I feel this desire to pray or meditate or read something constructive, you know, something that's going to help my spiritual path. But anyway, the whole point of this video is to And she's great. I really suggest her book, and I'm going to share more with it in maybe a couple of extra videos, because there's a couple of other chapters that I really like. And she's just so, I really see myself in her, because she really had to rebuild her whole life. She had to rebuild herself, and it's just she's got a beautiful life story. She really had to be bold and be brave, and to step out of the known of her life into the unknown, and to brave it out, and just to take it one step at a time, one day at a time, to follow her guidance, to follow her knowing, which is the title of the chapter I just read, to follow her knowing, to trust the knowing, to not trust other people's opinions. Yes, other people's opinions are great. They're always great. But to trust your own intuition, because you have a unique internal guidance system that God gave you, and you have to follow that. And if you don't, then you're not going to be fully happy. And that is just the bottom line. And that's why a lot of people feel, including myself, certain junctions of my life, certain areas of my life where we don't feel completely happy, completely fulfilled. And there is always that hunger for more. There is always that hunger for expansion. So that is a part of the where you're not completely happy, but it's also just that you're not following that inner guidance. You're pushing it away, and you're allowing other people, circumstances, your limited belief systems of what you think is possible for yourself to stop you. And all of that put together is what causes us to not step into our sovereignty, to not step into our knowing of who we really are. Yeah, but I'm going to share another chapter tomorrow, because there's a couple of other chapters that I love this book. Anyway, Untamed by Glennon Doyle, if you want to get a copy. And I love you guys. I wanted to share this today. And if you want coaching, reach out to me, Rachel Kadana 111 at gmail.com. And just, we can do an introductory session, 15 minutes, 30 minutes, or we can do a whole hour, just whatever you feel comfortable with. But if you need to talk through some stuff, get some clarity around some issues in your life, then just let me know, because I'm open, I'm free. I want to, that's a part, I want to do some other things too, but writing is a big one. But I want to help people, because I know what it's like to go through hard stuff in your life. And yeah, I just have I want to help people. Life's not easy. It's hard, So anyway, I'm rambling on. Reach out to me at rachelkdonna1111 at gmail.com if you want to set up a session, talk a little bit about what's going on. There's always complete, discretion, secrecy. I don't share anything with anybody else in my life. So you are free to talk to me. I'm here. So, love you guys. Happy Monday. Bye.